So, in my last video, I basically went over every Street Fighter game, but I committed a grave sin by not talking about the EX games. I've had to fend off protesters at my house for days after that. Such a popular series. I don't know who gave away my home address to the Street Fighter EX fans, but please don't do it again. Well, anyway, Street Fighter EX is a 3D spin-off of the Street Fighter series developed by the company Arika. From what I've seen, people don't really see it favorably, but it has gained a cult following as of late. Is that just nostalgia, or is there actual merit to the game? Well, I'll have to find out here. I've played Street Fighter EX, and that's what I'm going to determine. I will only be talking about the first game, though. The sequels are better overall games, and their approach to gameplay is also better, but I don't think it's that much different from the mainline titles, so I probably won't discuss it here, and I just find EX more interesting to discuss, even if it's not the better game. Please don't send another mob. I love all the games, I swear. This game feels slow. Really slow. It's noticeable right off the bat just how slow-paced this game's combat is, and it really harms the experience. This is probably why people say this is a bad game. I don't agree, but the slow pace is hard to get past, an asterisk over every bit of fun you have in this game. But there still is fun. If you can get past that, it's a great game. The original version of this game gave us 14 characters, 5 veterans and the rest returning. A pretty big ratio of new to old, which definitely gives the series a sense of identity. The returning characters are Ryu, Ken, Chun-Li, Guile, and Zangief, and our newcomers are named Hokuto, Doctrine Dark, Palampuna, Crackerjack, and the best character in the game, Skullomania. We also have Alan Snyder, Blair Dame, Kyrie, and Darren Meister, who are unlockable. The first iteration of this game came out in arcades in 1996, just a year after Street Fighter Alpha, which this takes a lot of inspiration from in terms of gameplay. Attacks do deal more damage, though, to compensate for the gameplay being slower, which makes for a totally different feel in those games. And while the experience is overall weaker, it's still fun in its own ways. For one, there's more of a risk-reward factor than Alpha, which makes us feel like a combination of that and Street Fighter 2. Veteran characters feel fine here, the new style of gameplay feels built around them, and the new characters equally, and they're all a lot of fun to play as. There are only minor changes to them in this game, but the little changes that are here improve these iterations of the characters a lot. I especially like Chun-Li. I never really liked playing as her in most of the games, mostly because she's a bit too fast for my playstyle, and her attacks are slightly weaker on average, so this game made her feel way more fun for me personally. And honestly, I think she's one of the most fun characters in the game. Once you get used to the stupid slow pace, of course. Another flaw with the gameplay is that attacks can sometimes make characters go flying a lot, like this is Looney Tunes running on the Dragon engine. This can get a little annoying when characters are so slow, and really makes you wish there was a dash button or something to close some distance faster. The newer characters are fun too, but when starting up this game, I still gravitate more towards veterans. That doesn't mean the new guys are bad, just that they're not good as, some of the most iconic and timeless characters in fighting games ever. My favorite newcomer is definitely Skullomania, probably the most popular new character from this game too. He's great, from the fact that he can zip across the screen, or that he's a failed businessman who became a vigilante and wears this. He's just a cool addition to the game. Later on, we would get Street Fighter EX Plus and Street Fighter EX Plus Alpha, which added Evil Ryu from Street Fighter Alpha 2, evil version of Hokuto named Bloody Hokuto. Hey, it's a better evil clone name than Violent Ken. And 2 cyborgs named Psylloid Beta and Psylloid Gamma. Then we'd get veterans Dhalsim, Sakura, Akuma, and Bison, and the new character Garuda. Anyways, can we acknowledge how weird it is that this game is named Street Fighter EX Plus Alpha when there's already Street Fighter Alpha? I guess it's the one that introduced Sakura, who comes from the Alpha series, so maybe that's what they're going for? But also the Alpha games are called Street Fighter Zero in Japan, so maybe they just didn't care about repeating the word Alpha in multiple games titles, America has to care. But also it's the actual letter instead of the word, so maybe they just didn't know and it was Arika deciding the title. I don't know what's going on. Anyways, what really makes me love this game, what makes it memorable despite all its flaws, is the soundtrack and the visuals. Oh god, the OST did not need to go so hard. Almost every track is an absolute banger and the stages look beautiful. The game has 3D graphics, but doesn't really play like one, which is fine, but it does mean characters are modeled in 3D. Pretty crude, but it does look pretty good for the time. Yeah, this game is absolutely worth playing for the soundtrack, though. Did you know the Maximilian Dood music comes from this game? I know this seems superficial, but the game even tells you the name of the track they're playing, which is something I really like. I don't know. It's like the game knows it has good music. This game doesn't really have a plot, or maybe it does. I just couldn't find any scans in the manual online, no matter how hard I looked. I tried, I promise. But M. Bison acts as the final boss. We have several modes to try out in the PS1 port: Arcade, Time Attack, and Survival, which are pretty self-explanatory, but we also have Team Battle, basically an early version of Squad Strike from Smash Ultimate. And we have Watch, for when you just want to watch battles. I never imagined people using this, but it is funny to imagine. Honey, we're having guests over, why don't you put some Street Fighter EX on the TV? But seriously, those are small additions, but more ways to play are always welcome in a fighting game. Overall, it is a pretty flawed game. Not Street Fighter 1 levels, but it still has flaws. Despite this, it's still an absolutely great time, and it deserves to get talked about more, alongside other Street Fighter greats. Well, at least a mention. This might be a footnote in the Street Fighter series' history, but it's still a great one. I see why those EX fans riot in front of my house now. If you're interested in the EX games and want to experience something more similar to traditional Street Fighter games, play EX2, 3, or Fighting EX Layer. But if you're looking for something unique, weird, play this one. Again, even if the other games are better experiences overall. They're not super slow either. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you later.